Take it away, take it away. Take away these feelings, 'cause they bring me down. 'Cause I can't breathe, feels like I can't breathe. Feels just like this whole world's coming down on me. Oh, can I be forgiven for all I have done? Can you set me free? Can you set me free? Set me free from all this pain I've done to me. If you can hear me praying, then I'll ask one more time. Can you take it away, Lord?
Ready to roll.
Inside the ManCave with Johnny Compian.
Game over, bitches.
Inside the ManCave podcast show. Follow me at Johnny Compian on Twitter. Like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Inside the ManCave podcast show, and like my page on IG and Facebook Meta. Appreciate you guys kind of coming out on Facebook and on my social media platforms that I have out. If you follow me on any of them, if not, take a chance. Why not? But I appreciate the feedback with the news of me losing my best friend. I really appreciate it. A lot of friends I haven't heard from in a while, sent me messages, and I just haven't wanted to come on, and I just needed a little bit of time just to walk away a little bit and reset, and then come in here fresh for you guys. So when am I fresh? At 2:15 in the morning? That's when I'm fresh. Most of you are already sleeping. You guys are almost getting up for your Sunday. Well, it's already Sunday, but you're getting up and you're going to watch some XFL football or whatever you do when you wake up. Go for a walk. Go to the store. Start a barbecue. I don't know. Whatever you guys do, that's cool. I choose to come on late or early in the morning when everybody's sleeping or just getting home from the clubs or the bars. That's when I operate, I think, at 100%. Especially the last few days. After losing a friend of mine, I wanted to come on here and talk about a few things that are really close and dear to my heart. And that is my friendship with all the friends that I grew up with, that we shared time together, through thick and thin, we persevered and always had a good time. It was cool to hear from really close friends and to talk about how the memories, they talked about the memories of my good friend, Joe Earl, whose friend, it was, their friend as well, just not mine. But Joe and I really had a strong connection because we grew up together. And, he was a little older than me, but, we still got along. And that was the beauty of it. We became really good friends. I learned a lot from Joe. So did a lot of other friends. And we experienced a lot. It's so hard to come on here and try to break down all these things that you got going on, flashing through your head when you get news like this, that you lost somebody, near and, dear, close to you. It's hard to come on here and talk about it. I know it is for me. For a lot of people, it's not. A lot of people grieve different. I get it. I understand it. I'm not dissing the way you choose to honor or remember a friend, a family member. So I'm not here to diss anybody or to look down on how people grieve and how people just kind of try to push forward, because at some point you got to push forward. You got to move on. Life goes on, right? I've dealt with it. I'm sure you have as well, where you lose somebody really close to you and it just hurts. I mean, it could be your mom, your dad, a good friend. Death is really hard sometimes to accept, especially if you go through a lot of different traumas young into your older age, and it stays with you. So that's what it does for me. I lost my uncle a few months back, and it was so hard to accept once again, to accept it. Like, man, what could we have done to have him on this earth a little longer? And I think about my grandmother and my grandfather, who I worship. My grandmother, because she took care of me. She always had an ear for me. She always was there to listen to me when my mother wasn't there, because I lost my mother at a very, very young age. And my grandmother, I would reach out to my grandmother, and I would sit there and I would tell her these things, because I couldn't talk to my dad, or I couldn't talk to my brother because he was younger. So I would, and I didn't want to tell my friends these things because it's like, man, it's close and personal. But man, it was really hard when you lose that, when you lose those connections. It really starts to like bother you. I know it bothered me, because when I lost my grandmother, I felt like I lost like a part of me, because we bonded so well, and we talked about a lot of things, and I would always ask questions, and some things she didn't want to talk about. And some things she just kind of just walked around the topics. And I understood. I mean, it wasn't her place to kind of answer these questions for me. But I had a lot of questions. After losing my mother at a young age, I had a lot of questions. And then like right now, still to this day, some of those questions are still not answered. So I've accepted a lot of that. I accepted the fact that those questions would never get answered, and that's the way it is. Nobody's going to feel sorry for you. Nobody's going to be like, "Oh, let me help you. Let me comfort you in this and that." No. Life keeps going on around you. And that's what's been going on the last few days. After hearing the news that, I lost my best friend, Joe Earl. And he was living in another state, far from, Texas. And I wanted to be there for him so bad. And I was planning on it. My buddy and I were planning to go up and go, visit him as soon as we found out. And I kind of stalled a little bit because I didn't want to come up there, because when I heard the news, I was like, okay, to me, it was fresh. I don't know how long this had been going on. So I didn't want to, I wanted to reach out and say, hey, look, I want to make a trip up to your area. And I want to come see you. I want to come spend a day or two with you, if that's okay. And it just never got to that point. That hurt. I think that hurt me the most, is not being able to see my best friend in his final days, which I believed. I'm like, you know what? He's okay. Just like when I talked to him the last time, I talked to him a week ago. And he says, I'm okay. Don't be sad. I'm okay. And he, assured me, like, okay, we'll talk tomorrow. It bothered me that I wasn't able to follow through and to get up there to that part of the world to see him at least one more last time in person, so I can give him a hug and I can let him know, like, hey, you're not alone. You're not in this fight alone. And he wasn't. He had his family around him, his wife, which, my heart goes out to her. And I'm not going to mention any names. I don't know if people want me to mention names. So I'll just speak, just the way I am right now. And hopefully, you know who you are. And, you recognize the fact that Joe Earl was, he was a good person. He was so good to a lot of people. It was a different way that he expressed his emotions, because the way Joe grew up. I think I knew Joe the best out of all of our friends. I think I knew Joe. I was pretty close to Joe. So I can say this for a fact, that I knew that he never knew really how to show his emotions. He always wore his emotions on his sleeve. Yeah. But if there was something that went down, if he needed something, or he needed something, somebody to help something move, or something to get fixed, if he could help or we could help, we were always there. Now, Joe was the first one to step up. So that's what I'm going to miss about Joe the most, is his sense of humor, his kindness, and just his smile, and the way he always came at me when we talked about, guy stuff. And I can remember when we were roommates, we would wake up sometimes and we would, indulge in different things, and have beers, and we'd laugh, we'd talk. I don't think I ever saw Joe cry. I don't think I ever saw him cry. I'm sure he saw me cry once or twice or a few times, because I'm an emotional guy. I'm very emotional, and I'm very vocal about what and how I feel about things. But I always felt like safe. I always felt like everything was going to be okay, going through a lot of hard times in my youth. Joe was always there for me. If it was to share a plate of food, or it was to share a 6-pack of 16 ounces that he would buy, and him and I would sit down and, he'd play some bass because he was playing bass at the time and I was playing guitar. We weren't good at all. We just had fun. We used to like to listen to music and to play it. So I sat, in my couch in the other room, and I put on some music, something that I normally don't listen to. I just put something different, random. And I just sat there and I just kind of just didn't think about anything. And then things just really started coming to me because they were in the back of my mind. And I think I let a lot of emotions out. I needed that. I needed some closure because I didn't get that. I just talked to him. And it was that was a hard conversation to get through. When you get news the way he got it and the way he kept telling me, I don't know what happened. It happened so fast. 1 minute I'm good and next minute, look where I'm at. That hurt the most. Like that I couldn't help him. That I couldn't be like, hey, Joe, I'll be there. Let me help you, dude. You've helped me out through a majority of my life when I was growing up. Let me go help you. And I knew that I couldn't help him. I knew it. Because my mom went through the same thing. My mother died of cancer at a very young age and left my brother and I and my dad and my aunts, all of us. She left us all behind. My grandmother, my grandfather. And I knew that when she told me what she was going through, when she found out, I knew that I couldn't help her because she said, this is it. Like, I don't know how long I'm going to be here for you guys. And that hurt her the most because she's like, I can't fix this. After all the good times, all the things that we've done, everything that we did as a family, she knew it was all going to end. I couldn't comprehend it. My younger brother couldn't comprehend it. I don't know how about my dad. My dad really took it really hard. He did everything in his power to try to help my mother last a little bit longer through expensive operations, radiation, chemo, everything. And there was no saving her. There was no more time. It was a really hard thing to accept as a youth. It was very hard because you think, okay, I'm losing my mom, the backbone of the family. What am I going to do now? And I didn't have the answers. Nobody had the answers. We were all devastated. I could hear my mom every night in pain, begging for medicine. And, she wanted to be at home with us because there was nothing else they could do for her. And I'd lay in my bed with, and my brother, we had bunk beds. My brother was above me, and I would have a lot of sleepless nights as a kid because I could hear my mom in the next room, and I knew there was nothing that I could do for her. And I wasn't a religious kid. I didn't know a lot about church or anything like that. I didn't know. I was clueless on, what to do or how to help my mother. When you can hear her in major pain throughout the nights. It's very, very tough as a young guy to sit back and listen to your mom die in the room next to you. It's very hard. I don't talk about it a lot. I don't think I have ever talked about any of these things I'm telling you to anybody. But I think it's this loss of my best friend opened up a lot of wounds. Because Joe Earl was a brother, man. He was a brother. He meant a lot to me. He's a good friend. And he was going through a lot of stuff. When I last saw him in Texas, and, he was going to go out, and he's like, I got to move and keep doing other things and moving on. I was like, all right, cool, man. You know how to get a hold of me. I'm not going to hold you back, because when I had to go and I had to go do my thing, hey, dude, all right, cool. You know how to get a hold of me. We always knew that, hey, I know when I go to the east side, I knew where Joe was. And I knew where I can go and hang out, grab a beer, get some laughs, crack up and be myself, was at Joe's. Every time I go into the east side of San Antonio, where I grew up, and the only reason I go to the east side now is to go see my other good friend, Adam, best friend as well, brother. And so there, I see the house that I grew up that we sold. And there were so many things that happened in that place that, there's no way that you can live in a place like that. Even my friend now, Adam's like, dude, I lost my parents here, and I don't want to be here. And that's the way we felt about it. I'm talking about my brother and I. We discussed this. I saw my mom get rolled out of a gurney through the front. And then I saw my dad get rolled out of a gurney through the back. I thought I would have my father for more time, and it just didn't happen. That was another devastating loss that we took in our family. It's hard to talk about too, because there was so much, there was so much that happened, so many things that changed for my dad. But you know what? These family members and friends that we've lost along the way, they're not suffering anymore. I'd be selfish if I said, I still want my mom here regardless of how much pain she was in. I can hear her in the next room. I don't care. Yeah, I didn't know about that, growing up. So that's why I took this really hard. And I'm still kind of in a funk right now. And it's hard to try to be myself. And it's hard to put a smile on my face. Because, losing my best friend, even though we were not in the same city, that brotherhood is there. I read a few comments, and people were very, very kind. And that right there goes a long way for me. I appreciate that. I just wanted to let everybody know what happened, because I feel that if that was me, I would want him to do the same thing for me. So that's why I put it out there and I talked about it, even though it was hard to at times. I still pushed through and, did what I could. And I don't know, it's really tough to accept. It is. Got a lot of text messages from friends, close friends that I hadn't talked to in a while. Then everybody was shocked on what happened. And a lot of people, like I said, they grieve different. I don't know. I didn't sleep last night or the night before. So I don't know. I've been reading a lot. I got a new book by Rick Rubin, and I've been really sinking into that. So it's been kind of weird for me, because I know my friend's not coming back. I know he's moved on to a better place, and hopefully we'll be able to see each other again. There's a lot of other people that I didn't hear of or see anybody mention it. There was a few people that mentioned it and shared it, and I saw some comments. And that's cool, because you know what? Don't forget about Joe. Joe, I will always bring him up. I can hear his laugh in my head. So, just like my mom and my dad and my grandmother, my grandfather, especially my grandfather. My grandfather and I, we really didn't communicate when I was growing up a lot. My grandfather lived with us for as long as I can remember. We always had a room for him. He was always there. And my grandfather was a gardener. He would go and help, some some friends that he had in Alamo Heights. And he would take the bus from, where we lived, which was right by 35, up to, up Broadway into Alamo Heights. And he would go garden for a lady and some other friends. And he would get his beer. And a lot of times he would, show up and he was really intoxicated. He would get his shower, get to sleep, wake up and do it all over again. Until he couldn't do it. I would always see him leave the house, and our dog would always follow him up to the 2 blocks down, up to the bus station. Sit there and wait for him. I could hear my grandfather, get over there, get back, go. The dog would not budge. The dog's like, no, I'm going to walk with you. I'm going to wait till you get on the bus, and then I'm going to go back and then wait for you. And then when I see you, because I sit in the middle of the street, when I see you get off the bus, a few hours later, I'm going to come and I'm going to walk back with you. And my grandfather was always in a better mood when he came back than when he left. So he was like yelling at the dog all the way up the block, because the dog was always trying to jump on him. And my grandfather always had his, nice, clean, pressed khakis. and it's Stacy's, and he's like, you know what? You're going to get me dirty. I'm trying, when he was going out and doing stuff. And he'd come back, and then he's like, all right. And he would be talking to the dog, in a happy way, laughing. He had this really distinctive laugh that I could hear in my head. And I lost my grandfather as well to liver cancer. Yeah. He lived a long, good life. Really good guy. I have some pictures with them. I'll post them. Really good person. I really wish I could still have him around to talk to him about all the stuff, all the new things, and some of the things that I've done. Because he ended up moving into a place for older people, and like an old folks apartment complex. And he didn't want to, but that's what would happen. And, it happened. It just kind of happened. And I was gone. I was up in Austin working. So I didn't have a phone at the time. And I was, anytime I communicated like that back then was through a payphone. And for a while, I didn't have much. I didn't have anything. I didn't have money. I didn't have anything. I was down and out. I kind of gave up on a lot after losing my mother at an early age. I really just kind of defaulted and was like, I had no direction. I had no guidance. My father had to go out and work to support us. And we were always getting in trouble and doing things. We didn't realize what was going on. But the older you get, you realize what you did, and you just kind of just shake your head. What can you do? You can't change it. You can't change the way you were and how you things came out, and so yeah, I kick myself a lot for some of the things and some of the moves I made. I really do. I really hate myself for the way I acted as a youth sometimes. Because after losing my mother at an early age, I really didn't care anymore about anything. My mom was gone, and I was like, so it was tough. It was really tough. And it was a long time. It took me a long time to really get over all that. And as I get older, I look back, and I know it's there. It's right back there. And you're like, okay, I got to bring this out, and I got to show it to everybody. And I got to let everybody know. I got to let people behind the curtain and share this, because some people want to know and some people don't. Some people don't really care. And that's okay. But you read books and you see things and you see movies, and you know what? Sometimes it's good to share this. There's other kids and people that are going through the same thing that I went through and my brother went through and my dad, all of us at a young age, or worse. You hear worse stories now. So this loss of my best friend Joe Earl opened up a lot of wounds for me. And I think now that I'm older, I'm able to kind of dissect a little bit on my own. And instead of doing it the wrong way, and just getting very intoxicated and ignoring my emotions and trying to hide it because I just wanted to be macho, and those things have to come out at some point, right? My mother used to love Joe. She used to laugh at him. And she always knew that when I was with Joe as a youth, that he got my back. So to me, I'm like, you know what? I'm so glad that my mother and my best friend met. Because Joe was family. Joe was there. Joe could just walk into the house. He lived next door. And he could just walk in, sit down and grab something, grab us, something to drink or eat. Whatever we had, he can look in the fridge and get it. It was not quite the same at his place because his dad was like, nope. Maybe sometimes. But, Joe was a member of our family. My mom would take us to the drive-in, and she would take as many kids from the hood that she can get into the station wagon, and she would pay for everybody and buy us, popcorn or whatever. And she sacrificed for a lot of us. A lot of people didn't notice it. I knew it. You know why? Because it made me happy. My mom made me happy. My mom always wanted to make me happy. She always told me that. I want you to be happy. And there was a reason why. She knew that to her, I was special. She knew I was really special to her. She treated me that way, but she also was really hard on me sometimes. I mean, like really, really hard on me. I don't want to get into details about that because it was bad. It was bad sometimes, and it was hard to see. It was hard to see a lot of stuff that she went through, a lot of the things that I would hear that she went through, and some of the stuff that she told me. She would tell me little itsy, pieces of stories when she had a few, and she, would sit there and listen to music. And she loved vinyl, 45s, 33s. Like I always tell you guys, that's why I learned from her. She loved music just the way I do. I love music. Music is a huge part of me. I think that's where I get it. I got it from her. Because when it comes to music, I have a deep passion for music. Music takes me somewhere. I love music. I always have. I mean, I listen to a lot of just because, people are like, okay, you have all these things and you listen to Slayer or Merciful Fate or no, I'm like way more. There's so many, realms that I go down with music. I listen to a lot of stuff. It's weird because I can hear a lot of the songs in my head that my mother used to play. And I'm singing them in the back of my head. I didn't understand them at first. But these songs, they stuck with me throughout the years. And I could be in a random place. At some point, I'm like thinking in my head, or I wake up thinking of something, a song that she would play all the time, that she would cry to, that she would, go and serenade my grandmother, her mother, on Mother's Day with mariachis. There was always music involved. And it was very emotional. And I think that's where it stuck. Like, I can listen to a lot of sad songs, or songs that are just very deep. Especially, like, she used to listen to old school Spanish music. And some of that music I'll listen to, even though I don't understand a lot of it, it brings out these emotions, and like, I've heard this before. And it takes me back to a place, where my mom is in our old house, and she's got all her records, her 45s, spread out on the bed, and we're listening to music really loud. And she's singing. My aunts are there, my dad, my uncle, everybody's around. It takes me there. It's like, it's so weird. It's so weird. So a lot of times I'll go back and I'll listen to some of those songs, or I'll download them now. And I'm like, wow, like, man. And I try to listen to what the message is in the song, and I don't get it a lot of times. Sometimes I do. I can relate. And other times it's just, oh man, it's just very, like, halfway through, it's so emotional. You're like, man, there's a tear coming down your eye, because it's like, wow. And what was she going through in that period of time in her life where she's like, man, this song just brings out a lot of emotions in me. Yeah. And it's so weird, because they would bring out now, it brings out the same emotions in me, because that's how much I appreciate music, and how much I love music, and it's such a big part of me. Yeah, it's very interesting, a very interesting thing that I've never talked about. I think it's cool that, I'm telling you guys about, because it's real. I mean, this is some deep stuff here. Losing my best friend, hurt. It still hurts right now. But I can play music, and it can take me to a certain time and place with my best friend and our friends, our group of friends, where we would hang out and drink. It's the same thing. It's very powerful. Very, very powerful. I think that it's good to be able to talk about these things. Like, who wants to hold all this in? I don't. I'm so glad that I'm able to do this and to talk about it and share these stories and these things that I've been holding on to. I trust you guys. I got 57 subs, and every single one of you, I trust you guys. Whoever you guys are, I appreciate you guys supporting me and my channel. Thank you for all the love and letting me know that you're there for me, that you care for me. Because growing up, after losing a lot of family and stuff, I felt like I didn't have that. But you know what I did have? I had my best friends, which I have a lot of them by my side right now. I can pick up the phone or text them, and they'll answer right away. I lost a good friend, but you know what? We're not going to forget him. He's going to live on, man, and I'm going to honor him any fucking chance I get. I'm going to honor Joe. Deserves it. Fucking party legend. He's a party legend. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you, each one of you who listen and give my podcast a chance. Thank you. Thank you so much. At Johnny Compian on Twitter. And you can also support the podcast show on anchor.fm/Johnny5150.